For this recording, I'm going to look at how we can create the Lego brick, this time using an iPad for it. Okay, so the Lego brick is here. I've got a page here that has the various dimensions for it. Will help you be able to plan out how this is going to work. So I'm going to start off. We can see that it's 31 by 15.8 and has a depth of 9.6. There is a wall thickness of 1.2 for the wall, but there is a different thickness for the wall thickness up on the top parts, the cylinders which actually have the Lego logo on. We can see that it's a 4 by 2, so we've got 4 instances across the top here and 2 instances going that way of the design. Okay, we're going to try and actually be using patterning, adding text, shelling, boolean and rib, and also a section view. Okay, so I'm going to start off by first of all creating a new part studio on the iPad. Things will be a little bit different to do on a PC, so let's see how we go with this. So to start off with, I'm going to be on the top work plane. So swing my top view. I'm going to do a sketch on the top work plane. Going to take a center point rectangle, start from the center here and drag this out. And this needs to be 31.8 by 15.8. So roughly about that size there. And then we can dimension that. So we'll go to our dimensioning tool. Click on the edge here. So we said this one has to be 15.8. This, okay, all right. And the other side is going to be 31.8. 31.8, and we'll zoom right in and we can grab our dimensions, hopefully, and drag those so they're not in the way of our drawing there. Okay. Right, so we're going to extrude this. So take the extrusion tool whilst the sketch is still live, and that's going to have a height of 9.6. Okay, so 9.6 millimeters, 9.6. Okay, there, and then click. So there we have our default shape there for us. Okay, I'm going to click on that top surface because I'm going to be putting a new sketch on that surface. So click on that. Okay, and I'm going to swing my view so I'm looking at my top view. Zoom in so I can see right into it. I'm going to take my center point circle, and this is to do one of the first of the Lego circle blobs that sit on the top here. So I'm going to move anywhere onto the center here and just drag out a circle. Now this has to have a diameter of 4.8 millimeters. So again, we're going to take our dimension tool, click on the edge of the circle there, click on the number, give it a dimension of 4.8 millimeters, and there we have that there. Whilst we have our dimension tool live, I'm going to click on the center of the circle and the edge of the shape here, and that tells me that I'm looking at 3.232. I want this to be instead 3.9. 3.9. Okay, there. And whilst it's still live, we'll click on the center of the circle and the top edge this time, and we can see that the dimension here is 2.817. We want this to be 3.9 again. Okay, there. So that places our circle in relation there. Okay. I'm now going to extrude this, but when I extrude it, I'm going to change this to, instead of add, I'm going to do it as a new shape. Okay. And it's going to have a height of 1.8 millimeters. So height here of 1.8. Okay. I want this to be a different part to the main body of it. Okay. So that's why we're doing this. Okay. So that gives me my part there. With that selected on live, I'm going to click on the top surface and put a new sketch on that top surface. I'm also going to swing so I'm actually looking directly at the top surface as well. Zoom in so I'm looking right at that. So before I start, I'm going to take my point tool and I'm going to just find the center of this circle here and just put a point there so I know where that center is. It'll become apparent as to why we do that in a minute. Then I'm going to take my tools again, and this time I'm going to have a look at my text tool. And let's see, do we have text? Ooh, yes, there's text there. Right, so I'm going to draw out a shape here, which is going to be for my text, and it's going to have the default Lego text. So we're going to take capital letters, L-E-G-O. Okay, there. It's going to be the font Arimo, okay, and it's going to be bold, and it's going to be italic, okay, and then green tick that, okay. Now, I want to set the height of this, so I'm going to take my dimension tool and click on the edge of the lettering there. I'm going to give this a height of 1 millimeters. 1 millimeter. Okay. Okay, there. It should. There we have it. Oops. There. Let me just swing my top view. You know how frisky an iPad can be. Right, now I'm then going to go to back to my pencil tool and pick my point tool. What I want to do, I want to put a point on the middle of this line here, this part here, so there. So now I have a point there, okay? And the reason why I want the point is I want to use this as a way of locating this in the center of my circle. So I'm going to go back to my tools, and I'm going to have a look at my tools here and try and find the one that says concentric, which is on the second from the bottom row, the second one in next to coincident. There we have it, there. And select on the 2 points that I want. So I want the center of that part and the center of the circle there. Then I go to the tool. I always get this the wrong way around, so there we are. And now you can see what's happened. I've moved that Lego logo exactly into the center of my circle by making the 2 points that I created earlier coincident, okay, or concentric rather. So they have joined together there, which works out quite nicely for me. Okay, so next thing I want to do, I'm going to green tick my. First of all, I'm going to extrude this this lettering. So click on my extrude button. Click on that. So I'm just going to extrude the Lego logo, and that's going to be a height of 0.2 millimeters. So it's hardly anything, just a little bit of a raise. So 0.2 millimeters. Okay, there. Okay, and then green tick that, and that should give me a little bit of a lift on that. Okay, so that's fine. Brilliant. Okay, so now we're going to see if we can actually pattern this. So I'm going to take my feature tool here, and I'm going to look for the linear pattern. There we have it there. Okay. Now it asked me which part I want to pattern. Now I could look at features, but I think we can actually do a part here because the dot that we've created is a separate part. So I'm going to click on part 2. So that's selected in there, okay? So that's the part that's actually going to work for us, okay? So it's going to be a new one that it creates. And the direction we're going to go in is the edge of this block here, the blue box. So I'm going to grab that line there, okay? And the distance that we want is 8 millimeters, okay? And the number of instances that we want is 4, okay? Now you can see here that it's already started to create the objects, but they are going in the wrong direction here. So I want to be on opposite direction, and they appear correctly for me. Okay. Whilst this is still open, I'm going to actually also pick the second direction for this, because we know that it is 4 by 2 of these dots. So direction this time is going to be the edge here, and the distance is going to be 8. Okay, there, and the number of instances is going to be 2 this time. Okay, now you can see again it's flipped it on the wrong side, so we'll just switch that opposite direction on, and there we have it. So now we have 8 instances of our Lego logo cylinder. Okay, that's fine. Green tick that. Okay, now I've done this as separate entities because the next tool I want to use is the shelling tool, and this is going to shell out the inside of my shape here. So let's just rotate this round. And what I want to do is to shell the inside part of this, but I don't want it to actually touch the other tools there. Now, I don't want a new sketch. I want my tools here. I want my shell tool. I'm going to click on the underside of this, and that has a default shell thickness of 2.5. And what I want is actually only 1.2. So 1.2, and that only does the block, but not the 8 circles on the top, which is what I want, because they're going to be done a different way. So I'm happy with that. Green tick that. Okay, now as you can see, these are all separate parts now. So the block is part 1, and each of the dots are parts 2, 3, 4, etc. there. And really, we can now join them all together. So I'm going to use my Boolean tool for this. So I'm going to click on my Features menu, find the Boolean tool there, and then I'm going to drag over all these shapes here. Okay, now so let's see if I can drag all of these. I haven't done this on an iPad before, so that may. Yeah, I think it's grabbed them all. Has it grabbed them all? Yes, it has. No, it hasn't picked them. I might have to actually select them individually on here. Okay, so let's grab them all onto here. So we'll grab 4, 5, 3. So we should have, in the end, we should have 8 instances grabbed on this. Sorry, 9 instances. There we have, 9 instances, and that should have grabbed everything all together there for us. Okay, that's all the parts together. So then green tick that, and now that is all one color because it's all one Boolean shape there. Okay, instead of it being 9 shapes, we now have one shape that we're dealing with. On the PC, you just drag a box over that. On the iPad, you probably have to select them as individual parts there. Okay, so the next thing I want to have a look at is how to create the rib that's on the underside of our Lego brick here, because there's a rib that comes across the inside here. This is going to be tricky, but we'll just see what we can do. So I'm going to click on the underside surface here on that, and then I'm going to go to my tools menu and pick plane. Okay, and I'm going to create an offset plane, and the plane is going to be 6.3 millimeters from the inside face of the block. So there it is there, 6.3 millimeters. Tick that. We can see that's how it's sat there. Okay, brilliant. And I want to sketch on that plane. So I'm going to grab a new sketch. I've got to select the plane for it. Now it's going to be that plane there, but that's whether it actually picks that up. Just double check. Yes, it has. It's picked up plane 1, so that's correct for us. Okay, that's good. Okay, and I'm going to use my use tool, because what I want to do is to make sure that I pick the actual line where the plane intersects with the box. Okay, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to hover around. I'm going to see if I can pick up that line there. So that's giving me a new line on the inside edge there. Okay, this is important for us. Okay, so let me just move this over and just swing this way. And with that use tool still selected, I'm going to click on this edge here. Yes, there we are. So now it's actually created a projected line on the inside where the plane, the new work plane, intersects through the box there, which is really important. Okay, now I can grab my line drawing tool, and I'm going to move over to here until I get to the center of that new use line there, and drag my line across perpendicular to it until it reaches the center of the opposite line there. Okay, and that joins that across. Okay, let's green tick that. Now that sounds complicated, but it is there for a reason, because what we want to be able to do is to rib that part. So now I'm going to go to my tools again and choose rib. Okay, rib, and I'm going to click on that line there. That's the line that I want to rib. And the part that's going to be it's going to be working with is the box. So we click on that. Now you can see here what it's done is actually created a flat surface to it, which is not what we want. We want it to actually be normal to it, not parallel. So we'll send it to be normal. And the thickness that it's going to be is 0.8 millimeters. So 0.8 millimeters thick. Green tick that. Okay, and then tick that. And now we have a nice rib going through to the underside surface of our shape there. Okay, cool. Right, so let's have a look and see what this all looks like now. So that's looking very sort of Lego-y. Okay, I'm going to switch off some of my work planes here because I don't need these for the moment, just to sort of try and make things easier to see. Yes, that looks quite good. Okay, I'm going to just click on my view button here. I'm going to have a look through and see if I can find a thing called section view. There we are, section view. I'm going to select this surface here, and that should give me the option then of being able to move this to actually be able to see only part of the surface here. I'm hoping that's actually going to work for this. I haven't tried section view on here before. Section view, yeah, there we are. Okay, now I can move this back. Now can you see that when I take this to the midpoint there, I've got a recess inside that's hollowed out, but there's nothing happened on the inside of each of these circles here, which isn't what we want. We want to have a hole through that, but we couldn't shell that out normally, so we're going to have to try and actually indent that in. So let's take my section view off. Okay, and we're going to swing, so we're looking at the underside of this. So click on that surface again, and we're going to put a new sketch on that surface. Okay, now before because we're going to draw a circle on the inside here, which is going to form the indent for it. Now, we could grab our circle tool and just draw that randomly, but we don't know where it's going to lie. So what we're going to do is we're first of all going to use our use tool, okay, and we're going to grab the underside edge of our circle there, and what it's done is projected that circle through the shape onto the underside of my part there. So now I know where the circle lies, okay? Then I can grab my circle drawing tool, my center point circle. I can move that to the center of this circle here, knowing that it's going to be concentric with it, and I can drag out the circle that I need. And I know that this circle needs to have a diameter of 2.6 millimeters. That's going to be roughly about there. I shall grab my dimension tool and just dimension that circle there. There we are. And we can just edit that to say 2.6 millimeters. Brilliant. Okay, now I now want to be able to extrude this. Okay, so I could delete that use tool. That could be a way to do it, or we could actually see whether we can actually extrude this. So with this sketch still live, let's grab the extrusion tool. Now by default it will think that you want to actually make like a donut extruded, which is not what we want to do. So we're going to just make sure that we deselect any entities first, so deselect that, and then we're going to see if we can actually just highlight just that circle that we want to work with. So we're going to slide in and see if we can just pick up just that circle there. There we have it. Okay, now we want to remove this way, and the depth we want to remove it to is a depth of 1.7 millimeters. Okay, 1.7 millimeters. So there, 1.7. There we have it. Brilliant. Now I have my nice circle indent to put into there. Okay, green tick that. Okay, so now it's just a question of patterning this. So I'm going to take my pattern tool again, find my linear pattern. The pattern that I want to use, this time I want to use the feature part, not a parts pattern, but a feature. So we're going to choose our feature menu here. And the feature that I want to pattern, I'm going to choose, is extrude 4, because that's the last extrusion that I did. So I can click on that. That's now there. The direction that I want to use is going to be the edge of that surface. So I know that's the direction that it's going to. Yeah. And then I need to then specify the distance between each of them, which is going to be 8 mil, and the number of instances that are going to happen is going to be 4. Okay. That's that, and it's going to go in the opposite direction. There we have it. Because if we had it the other way, can you see that there's an error there because it can't create those outside the shape. So put it that way, then it's inside the shape, then it works. Okay. Now, as we did before, we're also going to do the second direction for this. The direction is going to be the inside edge that way this time. The distance again is going to be 8, and the number of instances is going to be 2. Okay, 2. Green tick that. I don't think we need to actually change the direction because I think, yes, that has drawn it out for us correctly. That's great. Okay, so I can green tick that. Now I have indents inside the Lego blobs on the top. I can check this by going to my section view again. Okay, I can select the plane that I want to use. Then I have to choose section view apparently. Okay, this operates a different way to using it on the PC. So then now if I take my arrow and drag this back, you can see there that I have got my indents inside each of those circles, okay, which is really good. So now you can use this as a view to be able to sort of show in a project that your work has a cross-section value coming through it, which is quite cool, okay. And you can obviously then save a named view of that, so section view, yeah. So you can come back to it at any time to be able to view that. So if I turn the section view off, yeah, and then go to my named views and choose section view there, it should swing to that view for us. So then, you know, I may have to actually turn section view back on again. Oh, it doesn't save that. Okay, yeah, you have to physically put it. Oops, look at that. You can do all sorts of strange things with section view. Right, okay. So lots of different ways you can actually fiddle around with this. Let's turn that off for the moment. Turn that off. And there we have our completed Lego brick. We can also then go to our appearance, and we can change the colour of it to the colour that we would like our brick to be. And of course we can switch off. Let's just change that again. Appearance to, let's tick that. And I can change it to shaded without edges as well. And I can switch off my last plane because I don't need that either. So there we are. Okay. And there we have our completed Lego brick. Very good.